Alright, today we learned about rotation, so we are going to rotate over various angles to obtain a new image. So example 1 says to find the new coordinates of an image after a rotation of 180 degrees about the origin. So a couple important things. It says it's going to rotate about the origin, so we need to know that it's rotating about that point. It says 180 degrees. That's the same as if we could take this image and flip it upside down. And sometimes I have my students actually take their paper and flip it upside down so they can see where it will land. And then also I'm going to label these A, B, C, and D. And I'm going to take one point and show you that we would go through that point. Oh, that's a terrible line. And travel 180 degrees. That's a straight line. And whether we go one direction or the other, it's the same traveling distance. So we want to go 180 degrees. And we're going to notice that this distance here has to be the same. So that would put your point, or C prime, at about that point. So I said let's talk about these points. C is over 2, up 4. And it becomes C prime, which is back 2, down 4. And we talked about what happened to these two values. We can see that if we started out with xy here, our new xy would then become a negative x. It went from a 2 to a negative 2 and a 4 to a negative 4. And it would become negative y. So we can do that with all of our points. D is over 2 up 2. Our D prime will then become negative 2, negative 2. B is located at back 4, up 4. So our B prime, we're going to change the sign of that negative 4 and it becomes positive 4, and our second one will be negative 4. And A is back 4, up 2, and it becomes A prime, which is, we change that negative 4 to a positive 4 and that 2 to a negative 2. Then we're going to go ahead and graph these points. So D is back 2, down 2. I'm sorry, that was wrong. Back 2, down 2 for D prime. B prime is over 4, down 4. And A prime is over 4, down 2. And that gives us this new shape here. And that would be if we rotated about the origin 180 degrees. Okay, so example 2 says we're going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So clockwise means forward, and we're going to go a quarter of a turn. We're going to rotate about the origin. So I'm going to look at one point at a time. We can label them A, B, C, D again. I think I have them labeled differently, but that's okay. And I'm going to look at C, and I know that I have to travel 90 degrees. So this is about 90 degrees, and this distance from here to the origin has to be the same as this distance here. So I can see that it will land about right there for C prime. So C I have as negative 2, 4, and it becomes C prime, which is located at 4, 2. So we're going to come up with our rule here. Our rule says that if we start out with x, y, it looks like we switch, and the y is first, and we change the sign on the x. Okay, so now all we have to do is identify D. D is back 4, up 4. It will become D prime. So we switch those values. The 4 will be first, and the negative 4 would be last, but we change the sign, and it becomes positive 4. We look at A. A is back 4, down 2, and it's going to become A prime. So we switch spots, negative 2, and then negative 4. We change the sign to positive 4. And then last we have B, which is back 2, down 2. And it will become B prime. We switch places, so the negative 2 comes first. The x value, negative 2, goes last, and we change the sign to get positive 2. And then all we need to do is graph those points. So I have C prime already graphed. D is over 4, up 4. A is back 2, up 4, and it's going to actually land where that old C was. And then B is back 2, up 2. And we get this new rectangle here. And we can see that that is a rotation about the origin of 90 degrees clockwise. Okay, on example 3, it's asking us to rotate our image 90 degrees counterclockwise, so we're going backwards 1/4 of a turn. So it says about the origin, and I'm going to label these A, B, C, and D. I think I labeled that way last time as well. And I'm going to look at C and know that C is going to come back. Instead of looking at C, let's look at A. A is going to come back 90 degrees. So that's about 90 degrees, and we look at this distance has to be equivalent. I think my 90 degrees is slightly off. Let me change that. Oh, there we go. There's my 90 degrees. So this distance here has to be equivalent to this distance here. So this will be where my new A prime lands. So as we look at our A value, our coordinates for our A were back 4, down 2. Our new A prime becomes forward 2, down 4, and we're going to look at what's happening with our rule here. So if we start out with x, y, what did we do to this ordered pair to make it become the next ordered pair? So it looks like we switch our x and y, and our y now has to change signs, but our x gets to stay the same. So from here we just identify our values. B is back 2, up 2, or back 2, down 2, and it will then switch places and change the sign on the y. So positive 2, the x stays the same, and that's our B prime. For our C, C is back 2, up 4, and it will become C prime at, we switch the 4 and the negative 2, and we change the sign on the 4. And then on D, it's back 4, up 4. So it will become D prime. We switch those places and change the sign on the y value. So the y value is 4, it becomes negative 4, and the x stays the same. And then all we have to do is graph those points. So let me erase some of this. So our B is forward 2, down 2 to get our B prime. C is back 4, down 2, and you can see that that was the same as what A was. And D is back 4, down 4. And we get our new shape, or our image, right here, and it has been rotated counterclockwise 90 degrees about the origin. Our last example is going to ask us to rotate about a different vertex. So here it's about vertex A. So the first thing we actually have to do is graph our values. A is over 1, up 2. B is over 2, up 4. C is over 4, up 1. So that's C, B, and A. Here it's asking us to rotate 180 degrees, and it says clockwise, but really clockwise, counterclockwise with 180 degrees does not matter, so that's kind of a play on words there. So we're going to rotate now about A. So what I'd like to do is draw a line through A, and you can see that our slope is up 2 over 1. So I'm going to go back 2, or down 2, back 1 to go the other direction. And then I can see that this right here will be my new B prime. I'm going to apply that same idea. When C passes through A, it looks like it's going to go up 1, back 3. So from A, I'm going to go up 1, back 3, and then draw that line. And it will pass through this point, and that will be my new C prime. And then from here, you just need to connect those vertices, and you have your triangle that has been rotated 100 degrees about A. So we'll write those coordinates. A obviously stays the same, so B prime then becomes over 0, up 0, and C prime is back 2, up 3. And then I guess we could write A prime. A prime and A are the same. Alright, I hope that helps with your assignment. It's 8-3 rotations worksheet. Good luck.